You won't believe what Barack Obama just revealed about his marriage to Michelle. The former president, who had been busy with his post presidency duties, opened up recently about something far more personal: his relationship with his wife. What makes this story different is how raw and honest Barack was about his struggles. You may think you know everything about the Obama family, but there's so much more happening behind the scenes. After serving 8 intense years in the White House, Barack realized something that shocked many of his supporters. "I was in a deep deficit with my wife," he admitted. That's right. While many people saw Barack Obama as the powerful, charismatic leader, he was secretly battling something much more personal. His relationship with Michelle, a bond that had lasted for over 3 decades, was under immense strain. He spoke about how he had to rebuild their connection after stepping away from the pressures of the presidency. "I've been trying to dig myself out of that hole," he confessed, revealing that his marriage, despite its public appearance, needed serious attention. But here's the shocking part. It wasn't just about the pressure of politics. The Obama's marriage had to survive the weight of public scrutiny, constant media attention, and the whirlwind of presidential life. During their time in office, Michelle, too, was carrying the weight of being the first African American First Lady, a role that came with its own set of challenges. Barack acknowledged that they had been facing what seemed like constant strain, both professionally and personally. While he had been serving his country, Michelle had to navigate her own path as the mother of their 2 daughters, Sasha and Malia, without much time to focus on herself. The couple faced long, lonely nights as Barack traveled the world for his presidency, while Michelle took on the demanding role of raising their children. This is where it gets interesting. Even with all the challenges they face, Barack never stopped fighting for his family. In one of his interviews, he joked about how he had to do some occasionally fun things to make up for the time they lost. It was clear that despite everything, Barack realized that the most important relationship he had was with Michelle. He admitted that his presidency had taken a huge toll on their marriage. What made things worse was the rumors that began swirling in the media, constantly casting doubt on their relationship. It's easy to assume that the couple had it all together, but behind the cameras, things were not always perfect. At one point, Barack and Michelle were faced with rumors of a possible divorce, all sparked by minor events. When Barack attended the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter without Michelle by his side, the media immediately pounced. Then there was the time Barack was seen at Donald Trump's inauguration alone, fueling even more rumors about their relationship. This sent shockwaves through their supporters, who questioned what was really happening behind closed doors. Were they secretly struggling? Was there more going on than the public knew? But this is where the story takes another twist. Despite all the gossip and media frenzy, Barack and Michelle remained silent. Barack even addressed these rumors, saying that the criticism didn't define their bond. Still, as rumors spread, one particular claim caught the media's attention: the idea that Barack had an affair with none other than Jennifer Aniston. Now, let me tell you, this claim was so wild that it almost seemed unbelievable. The rumor mill was out of control, but what was most interesting was how Michelle responded. She didn't stay silent. Instead, she took to social media to firmly debunk the rumors. She stood by her husband and reminded the world that, despite what people were saying, their love for each other had never wavered. And then came the Valentine's Day selfies. Yes, you read that right. In an effort to silence the whispers and show the world the truth, Barack and Michelle posted affectionate pictures of themselves on social media. "We are fine," they wanted to say without saying a word. The images spoke volumes about their bond. No words were needed. This act wasn't just about silencing the rumors. It was a powerful statement to the world that their relationship was still strong, despite all the negative energy around them. It wasn't easy, though. Michelle had been open about the tough periods in their marriage, admitting that there were times when she struggled with being in the spotlight. She even admitted that for a long time there were periods where she couldn't stand her husband. There were 10 years where I couldn't stand my husband, she revealed during a candid interview. Those were the years when Barack's political career was taking off and Michelle was left to hold the fort at home. But what made this story different was the fact that they worked through it. But you won't believe what happened next. Just when it seemed like Barack and Michelle had weathered the storm, the rumors surrounding their marriage reached a new level of absurdity. The press couldn't get enough of the speculation. And let me tell you, this is where it gets interesting. Despite all their efforts to keep things private, the couple couldn't escape the constant gossip. As if dealing with the stress of public life wasn't enough, they now found themselves battling an entirely new wave of rumors that seemed to pop up out of nowhere. It all started with the simple fact that Barack and Michelle were often seen apart. As the former president was busy traveling, representing the country, and focusing on his new post-presidency initiatives, Michelle stayed behind. And this is where the media ran wild. The first sign of trouble came when Barack attended the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter alone, without Michelle by his side. Just a few months later, Barack was spotted at Donald Trump's inauguration, once again without Michelle. This simple absence was enough to set off the rumor mill. People began to whisper, "Is there trouble in paradise? Why is Michelle not by his side?" This is where the craziest part comes in. The media, as they always do, took these moments and turned them into something much bigger. And when I say bigger, I mean rumors that went beyond just couple trouble. Speculation grew that their marriage was on the verge of collapse. But that's not even the most shocking part. The rumors about an alleged affair between Barack and none other than Jennifer Aniston hit the headlines. Yes, you heard that right. Barack Obama, the former president, was suddenly being linked to Jennifer Aniston, the beloved actress from Friends. The media suggested an affair, claiming that the two were involved in a romantic relationship. The headlines were everywhere. You won't believe it, but this was only the beginning. The scandalous claims didn't stop there. People were convinced that there was something more between Barack and Jennifer than just a friendly connection. The stories were outrageous, but here's the shocking part. The truth was completely different. The Obamas weren't just sitting back and letting these rumors define them. No, they were taking action. In a bold move to silence the gossip, Michelle herself stepped forward and denied the rumors. The couple had been through so much already, and they weren't going to let wild stories tear apart everything they had worked for. Michelle, with her trademark grace and strength, made it clear that the rumors about her husband were simply not true. "These stories are false," she said. Michelle had had enough of the false claims and didn't want to let the negativity destroy her family. It was an important moment because in a world where public figures often remain silent in the face of rumors, Michelle stood up and defended her family with a firm resolve. This act of defiance wasn't just about denying a story. It was a message to the world that their love was stronger than any fabricated scandal. But just when it seemed like the rumors would finally quiet down, things took an unexpected turn. In an attempt to fight back against the negative energy, the Obamas posted something incredibly personal, a series of affectionate Valentine's Day selfies. "We are fine," the photos seemed to say, and the couple shared a heartfelt message along with them. It was their way of telling the world that, despite all the attacks and the gossip, they were still united. These weren't just any selfies, they were powerful symbols of love and solidarity. Barack and Michelle didn't need to say anything more. The images spoke for themselves, and the message was clear. The strength of their marriage was undeniable, no matter what anyone else said. However, what made this moment even more significant was how it directly confronted the rumors. The Valentine's Day posts were a statement that no matter what the media or the public said, their love for each other had never faltered. In fact, this public act of affection seemed to have the opposite effect of what the media expected. Instead of causing more speculation, it made it clear that their bond was unshakable. Still, it wasn't all smooth sailing. While the selfies and public show of affection helped, there was still the matter of the emotional toll the rumors had taken on both Barack and Michelle. In private, they continued to deal with the fallout of the media frenzy. Michelle had been candid in the past about the emotional weight of being in the spotlight, and this was no different. She had always been the strong one, the rock in their relationship, but even she had moments of doubt. During a 2022 interview, she confessed that there were years in their marriage when she didn't feel as connected to Barack as she would have liked. There were 10 years where I couldn't stand my husband, she admitted. But wait, the drama doesn't end there. Just when it seemed like the Obamas had finally silenced the rumors and weathered the storm, a new chapter in their journey began, one that would test their resilience in ways they never expected. If you thought the gossip and media pressure had been tough, you're in for a real shock because this next part takes things to a whole new level. This is where it gets interesting. Michelle's unique burden as the first African American First Lady became an even bigger challenge, one that not only affected her, but also the dynamics of her relationship with Barack. While many people focus on the grandeur of the First Lady's role, Michelle carried a weight that few could understand. Being the first African American First Lady was an honor, yes, but it also came with an incredible amount of scrutiny. Everywhere she went, Michelle was judged not just for her actions, but for her very existence in that position. The press didn't hold back. They questioned her every move, and the criticism wasn't just about her political views. It was about who she was as a person, as a woman of color. The media painted her as too loud, too powerful, and at times even too much for the role she occupied. And this is where the craziest part of the story unfolds. Michelle had to deal with racial stereotypes and attacks that were rooted in a deep-seated prejudice. She recalled in a powerful speech how the media made her out to be some sort of angry Black woman, a stereotype that has long been used to undermine strong African American women in power. In 2015, during a commencement speech at Tuskegee University, Michelle opened up about how she was often the target of hurtful criticism, things like being called emasculating or too aggressive for simply being strong, confident, and unapologetic about her identity. Let me tell you, this is where it gets even more intense. Michelle shared how some people had tried to tear her down by mocking her appearance. I had a caricature of myself on a magazine cover with a huge afro and a machine gun, she said, shaking her head at the absurdity of it all. In the eyes of the media, Michelle was portrayed as an outsider, someone who didn't fit the mold of what a first lady was supposed to be. She was labeled too radical just because she stood firm in who she was and what she believed in. But here's the shocking part. Through all of this, Michelle never gave in to the pressure. Despite the constant attacks, she maintained her strength and grace. She continued to support Barack and their family, all while carrying the heavy burden of being a public figure under the harshest of lights. The challenges she faced were like no other First Lady before her, and yet she stood tall, never letting anyone define her. But there was another struggle, one that went beyond the public eye. Michelle was constantly battling her own insecurities. The pressure of being in the public spotlight took its toll. There were days when she questioned herself, wondering if her role as a mother, a wife, and a public figure was too much. At one point, she even admitted that she had sleepless nights, struggling with the fear that her actions and decisions might hurt her husband's political career, or worse, that she might be failing her family. Despite all of this, Michelle kept fighting. The strength of her character shone through, and her determination to rise above it all only grew stronger. And what's even more inspiring is how Barack, too, recognized this inner strength in Michelle. He knew that the pressures she faced were unlike anything he could truly understand, but he also knew that through it all, Michelle had been his greatest ally, his strongest supporter, and the foundation of their family. This is where the story takes yet another unexpected turn. As Barack's political career continued to rise, the couple found themselves at a crossroads. Barack was now facing a new set of challenges. Being the leader of the free world had its own set of burdens, but it also meant that his time at home was limited. During those years, Michelle had to juggle being a mother and a wife while dealing with her own growing career. And this is where it gets truly remarkable. Despite the unequal roles they played during Barack's presidency, they never let that drive a wedge between them. In fact, Barack admitted in a recent interview that he was incredibly proud of Michelle's achievements, particularly her success in building her own platform as an advocate for healthy eating and education. I had somebody who was like, "I got your back," Barack said, recalling how Michelle supported him through every transition in his career, even when she was struggling with her own challenges. And now we come to the final twist in this incredible journey. By now, you're probably wondering how the Obamas could possibly face more challenges after everything they had already endured. But let me tell you, destiny took an unexpected turn for the couple, and just when it seemed like they had everything figured out, a new chapter unfolded that would solidify their legacy in ways nobody could have predicted. As Barack's post-presidency years began, it became clear that their relationship, tested by years of public scrutiny, had found new strength. While many expected Barack to focus solely on his foundation and memoirs, something deeper was happening between him and Michelle. You see, leaving the White House in 2017 wasn't just about stepping away from politics, it was about stepping back into their personal lives where time with each other became the most valuable currency. Barack himself admitted that it wasn't until he left the White House that he truly realized how much he had neglected his marriage. "It sure helps to be out of the White House and to have a little more time with her," he shared in a 2023 interview. It was a simple truth, but it spoke volumes. The pressures of the presidency, the constant demands of the job had kept him away from Michelle for so long. But now, in these post-presidency years, he finally had the chance to focus on his most important relationship. And that time together meant everything. This is where it gets even more heartwarming. With the weight of the world no longer on his shoulders, Barack began to appreciate Michelle in ways he hadn't before. The years of political chaos and constant media attention had kept them apart, but now they were finally able to reconnect in a way that was deeply personal. Barack spoke about how the two of them had rediscovered a new rhythm in their marriage. It wasn't just about love, it was about understanding, about recognizing the sacrifices they had both made over the years. As they settled into their Washington, D.C. home, they also started building a future together that was centered on joy, peace, and shared purpose. But there's more to this story, because while their marriage had found its balance, Barack had also begun working on something that would leave a lasting mark on the world, his foundation. This wasn't just any foundation, it was a legacy project, one that aimed to build the next generation of leaders. Barack had always been a visionary, but now, with more time to focus on what truly mattered, his work was touching lives in ways he hadn't been able to during his presidency. His leadership was no longer just political, it was personal, aimed at creating change for people everywhere, especially young people. And then there's Michelle, who was not content to sit back and watch. As Barack focused on his work, she too was embracing her own journey of growth. Through her podcast and Netflix special, Michelle had become a voice of inspiration, speaking about vulnerability, self-empowerment, and the importance of resilience. Her message resonated with millions, and as she grew into her own post-White House role, she continued to be a beacon of strength and hope for many. But here's the twist that'll leave you in awe. Despite everything they had already overcome, Michelle and Barack were still learning and growing together. They had both changed over the years, and so had their relationship. What makes this story so unique is that even after everything they had been through, rumors, public scrutiny, personal struggles, they never stopped evolving together. They showed that even the strongest relationships face challenges, but it's how you handle those challenges that makes all the difference. The final piece of the puzzle came when the Obamas began to focus on their personal time. The once stressful demands of public life had faded, and now Barack and Michelle were enjoying the moments they had together without the constant pressure of the presidency hanging over them. Whether it was spending time at their soon-to-be finished $18 million Hawaiian mansion or just relaxing at home, the couple had found a new sense of peace. After years of navigating through the chaos, they had finally reached a place of contentment. And as the years go by, one thing becomes incredibly clear. The love between Barack and Michelle Obama is something that not only survived the harshest of trials, it flourished. They proved that even in the most challenging of times, love can be the anchor that holds you together. They faced rumors, pressure, and personal struggles. Yet, they came out stronger on the other side, with a love story that continues to inspire millions around the world.